Hi, the name is Bliss Sibiya from the X Factor Youth. Now, the X Factor Youth is a movement or a gang where we want to upskill and train and develop young people to compete in the spaces that they want to compete in. I just want to come into your space today and speak about why exactly do private businesses or private companies set up their own non-profit organizations. There are so many non-profit organizations in South Africa and probably the world. Why do they decide that as a private business to set up their own non-profit organizations? I have a couple of ideas that I just want to discuss with you, and then hopefully later on you guys can also in the comments explain your side of the story. So the first one is control. Why do businesses such as the Pick and Pay Foundation or the Pick and Pay or Mr. Price and the Mr. Price Foundation, Hollywood Bets and Hollywood Bets Foundation, why do they set up these businesses or these non-profit organizations? So from the control aspect, these private businesses want to control where they put their money in. At the end of the day, a business wants to invest and ensure that they get value for their money. With the profits that they use, instead of giving it to organizations such as SARS, who will give their money to the National Treasury, and then the National Treasury sets up a budget and disperses it to the different departments within South Africa. For example, the Department of Social Development, the Department of Economic Development, Department of Trade and Industry, and so forth. Rather than trust or assume that the money will go to the right places, they have decided to set up their own wings, their non-profit wings, to ensure that on their balance sheet, they know exactly where their money is going. So for us as private businesses who set up non-profit organizations, we need to think like that. Why do we need to think like that? Because we want to understand what private businesses or for-profit organizations want in order to make the contributions in the non-profit sector. So when we speak about control, government corruption, in the country that we live in South Africa, we're always speaking about corruption. And because private businesses do not want to fund corruption with the tax that they get, they decided that they're going to set up their own non-profits and put the money directly to there, and that those organizations, those non-profit organizations, are going to ensure that the money is put in the right places. So when we also speak about taking control, private businesses are essentially being their own department of social development, their own department of economic development, their own department of trade and industry, because they want more control over what their money does and where their money goes. So that is number one, control. Number two, tax exemptions. Now, it is no secret that SARS and the South African government gives tax benefits for businesses who contribute to charities and foundations. Now, if you look at NPCs and non-profit organizations, their papers, when you get a certificate, there's a particular number that you get. So businesses, when they make contributions or they report back to the CIPC, for example, they always put a reference number to say that this is the contribution that they're making to a particular non-profit organization. So it makes sense as a business to set up your own charity, your own non-profit organization, so that you can get that reference. So every time you make a contribution from the proceeds that you get, you can just funnel that money directly towards the non-profit organization that you have started. So tax exemption is another major key, and most businesses, in fact all private businesses, big ones, who do not trust the government system, they decided to directly take their money and take their budgets and also allocate particular amounts beforehand to their non-profit wing, their non-profit department, if we could call it that. And then the third one is the importance of giving back. Now, businesses understand that in order for them to make money in the communities in which they operate, they need to give back because it's a system. Once not a Pick and Pay, for example, or a Mr. Price Foundation, for example, gives back to the community in the form of upskilling, in the form of tackling social ills, in the form of developing communities. Once they develop communities, they understand that when the community is developed, when the people are skilled, they go and find jobs or they set up their own businesses. Once they set up their own businesses or they find a job, they are able to earn a salary. Once they are able to earn a salary, they are able to pay for things and buy things and therefore have disposable income. And that's what the Pick and Pays and the Mr. Prices and the spas and all these major businesses, these major retail businesses especially, that's what essentially what they want to get. And rather than rely on government to upskill communities, they want to take it upon themselves so that they can see their return on investment, so that they can be more accountable. Because the balance sheet, they just want to see exactly where their money is going. And they want more control, they want more independence. So rather than rely on government, they want to privatize the whole space so that they know exactly what type of investments they're making, what type of value they're adding to communities and the country, and how much of an impact are they making within the communities. Because again, at the end of the day, they just want to ensure that the next generation, especially the youth, are able to afford their products and their services. So why am I speaking about this? Because I believe that as non-profit practitioners or non-profit organizations, we need to figure out and understand what exactly businesses are looking for. Because it's not all businesses that have set up foundations. But if you are able as a non-profit organization to find the gap where private businesses want to make a contribution, you can assist and become a service to them in the form of either CSI or CSR. What I also want to speak about is that instead of private businesses setting up non-profit organizations, why can't our non-profit organizations view themselves as private businesses? Rather than have shareholders, the trustees could be the shareholders. Rather than making profit, those could be proceeds that we funnel directly to the initiatives that we make. I'll give you an example. Expected Youth is a non-profit organization on paper, but our vision is more of a business because we believe that non-profit organizations, rather than trying to go source funding and source partnerships, we are able to have more respect and more dignity because we sell programs, we sell products, and we can use that as leverage to say that, listen, we are Expected Youth, we are coming to you, these are the services that we provide. Also, these are the issues that we tackle, the social ills that we tackle on the side. The money that we make from doing business, we can then contribute to these particular initiatives and these particular projects that we are engaging in. So in a way, it is a win-win for the non-profit organization and the business, because the business is looking for tax exemption. The business is also looking to add value. They're trying to find out where the value is. So as non-profit organizations, we should view ourselves as businesses. As non-profit leaders, we should view ourselves as entrepreneurs. Instead of trying to find out where we can get the next request for funding, let's rather set up a business side within our non-profit organizations where we know that it can generate revenue on a monthly basis, on a fortnightly basis, or every day, so that we can sustain our non-profit organizations. So those are the two folds that I wanted us to discuss. There's businesses, not private organizations or private businesses that have set up non-profit organizations. And then there's non-profit organizations that set up businesses to make sure that they support the initiatives that we are doing. If you want to have more information and you want to further discuss other possible reasons why private businesses have set up non-profit organizations, please feel free to comment below, or let's engage directly and speak about the non-profit side and what changes we can make in order to ensure that our non-profits actually add value and do not have issues in terms of funding, donations, and sponsorships, because we view ourselves as businesses and not just non-profit organizations. Let us engage, let us communicate. The name is Bliss Sibiya from the Expected Youth, where we speak about excellence, extraordinariness, exceptionality, exceeding expectations, and to go the extra mile. We are the hashtag Red Team, and we are out here trying to change communities, change societies, uplift people, because we believe that the next generation has next, and we want to pursue excellence in every red step that we leave behind. Let us communicate. I'm out.